Hi and welcome to the We Need a Roach podcast, and well, it was time we got angry and created some star-shaped holes in the universe. Well, that means it's time to talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And we never lose our demons, David. We only learn to live above them.
Dude, is this the first time that you've started a podcast and not done a Back to the Future quote?
No, because I've done it before when it's been spoiler special.
Okay. I was going to be like, whoa, what is happening here? This ain't like you. This is different. I don't like change.
Where was the quote from, David?
That quote, I'm assuming that was from Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I can't remember what you said. I just know it wasn't from Back to the Future.
No, it was a quote from the first film. But anyway, this film was much delayed, but not just because of COVID, but because original director and of the first film, Scott Derrickson, took a walk in pre-production. And Marvel turned to a master of horror, and for many, many years, the director of the best comic book movie from a Marvel property, predating the MCU. Well, yes, I'm talking about Sam Raimi, famed director of the original Spider-Man trilogy and Evil Dead trilogy, and not forgetting his underappreciated classics like The Gift, The Quick and the Dead, Darkman, and Drag Me to Hell. Now, I wasn't the biggest fan of Doctor Strange the first time round, but I did enjoy it more on repeated viewings. But Doctor Strange 2 is a whole other kettle of massive killer octopus. After appearing in Infinity War, Endgame, and Spider-Man No Way Home, it feels like we've seen a whole lot more of Doctor Strange on screen, despite this still being only his second film. One issue I had with the first film was that it completely wasted the always brilliant Rachel McAdams in a really poorly written girlfriend role, who then essentially disappeared halfway through the film. And, Strange was pretty much a dick for most of the film. Coming into Doctor Strange 2, we did know that Wanda was going to be a big part of it after the conclusion of WandaVision, but I don't think we realised how key she was going to be to the film, did we, David?
No,
what did you think?
They pulled the rug out, they proper pulled the rug over your eyes with the trailer in terms of who the villain was going to be. Because it's building up that she's going to be the they're going to help each other out. It's going to be a little team up. But nah.
What did you think of the first Doctor Strange film?
The first Doctor Strange, I thought it was okay. I thought it was alright. It wasn't
mid-tier, right? I wasn't blown away.
Road MCU sort of film. There was nothing really exceptional about it. There was nothing really. It had a decent ending. Not a lackluster villain like Dormammu, because he was so all powerful. Dormammu is probably one of those cosmic villains. Cosmic. That's a good 100%. One, yeah, because it was quite earth-shattering villain. Stakes were high, but it didn't. It didn't land. It would have been better having a more grounded, real villain for it.
So, getting into Doctor Strange 2, we start the film with Doctor Strange awakening from a nightmare where he sees a version of himself and a young girl called America Chavez being chased by a large monster before the monster kills Strange dead and he wakes from his nightmare. We then jump to seeing him at a wedding and realise it's not his wedding, but his ex Christine is actually marrying someone else. And just before it gets too awkward afterwards at the reception, the giant invisible squid monster appears and starts chasing America.
And enter giant squid straight out of fucking Suicide Squad. That's what I was thinking the second I saw it.
We got a motherfucking kaiju in the house. Giant squid monster downtown causing chaos, chasing America Chavez for reasons we don't know yet. And after a little bit of dispatching the monster with Wong, they're just, having a nice coffee. And we learn that America's power is she can traverse the multiverse, but she doesn't have any level of control over it. Oh, and also a monster demon and witch of some kind is chasing her to steal her power, which would kill her. Wong is like, hey, everyone, let's get everyone to Carmitage where it's safe. And Steven's like, hey, I know someone who can help. And we goes to visit Wanda, who knows a thing or two about magic and multiverses. Except it's revealed here by accident that Wanda is the person pursuing America for her power. And the reason is she wants to travel to a universe where she can be with her children. Despite Steven saying to her, you're not real, you made with the magic.
These children, replies, the children that were introduced in
WandaVision.
In WandaVision.
Yeah.
Yes. You kind of do have to have watched WandaVision. Otherwise, there's a lot of who the fuck are these people? Who are these kids? Why do we care? Yeah, it is. That's one of the negatives for me, is that you have to have watched one of the shows to properly enjoy and understand her, understand why she's
her character
arc. She is. Yeah.
But you watched WandaVision though, so how is it a problem
I did
for
watch.
You?
No. I did watch it still, but I feel like that's a negative, that you have to have watched it to have understood her character, the reasons why she's doing everything she's doing.
Well, and that's, I think, one of the issues I have with the film, which we'll get to in a little bit. But Steven says to her, look, your kids aren't real, you made with the magic. But she does get a good line back saying, all children are made with magic. Yep, great line. Wanda's going to get a lot more of these as the film progresses. Indeed, you could have called this film Wanda in the Multiverse of Madness, so key is she to the story.
In fact, that would have made more sense. Is Doctor Strange a bigger hero than Wanda? Really? Is that why they went with Doctor Strange, or is it because there was already a Doctor Strange, previously?
I think it's probably because there was a Doctor Strange previously.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at this point, Stephen was like, no, I'm not giving you the girl to murder. And Wanda gives him a few hours to get the girl at Carmitage. Because at this point, David, she's being reasonable. Jesus Christ, we don't want to see her when she's not being reasonable, is all I can say. So the first big shock we've got is Wanda indeed is going to be our main villain for the film. Which I put to you, David, that despite how amazing she is in this role and in this film, she's a brilliant, brilliant villain. For me, it completely undoes all the work and the journey we took with her in WandaVision. Now, initially for me, making her into a massive psycho killer is a mistake because we want to root for her so much after experiencing her journey of loss and pain with Vision in Infinity War and then losing her kids and Vision again in WandaVision.
There's not enough of that emotional, which is another reason. There's not enough of that emotional pull for you to agree with what she's doing.
Yeah.
To agree with her murdering this person or potentially even destroying a whole universe or multiverse just to get what she wants, which is to be with her children, and what she's doing to get that. There wasn't...
Yeah.
It didn't make enough sense in terms of that, but if you consider that she was being corrupted by
the book. Yeah. And that's the one thing they're hanging this turn on, right? This is like a really shit heel turn in pro wrestling where a good guy hits someone with a chair and now he's a bad guy. This was like the movie equivalent of that. Because we've gone through such a journey with her in WandaVision that we felt at the end, okay, she's sad, but she's got through it. She's going to go on to better stuff, right? She's been through it all, and the next time she appears, she's going to be awesome. Her power's so cool, yada, yada, yada. And I think the audience as a whole, as much as you appreciate how brilliant and absolutely ice-cold murderous she is in this, you want to be on her side to a point. And the fact that her turn is based on an evil book of spells that I believe was mentioned in WandaVision, wasn't it? And you know what? The Darkhold, it also was a major plot point in the non-canon Marvel show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But hey, if you want a horror film with an evil... Go ahead.
Sorry, buddy. I have one thing with her, with the plot of this film is her to take the power from... what's her name?
America, Chavez.
Thank you. Yeah, America. To take America's power of being able to travel through the multiverses. Where did that come from? Where was she just all of a sudden capable of taking other people's powers? Was that always there? Could she have just been like, oh, you've got a fucking cool power, I want that, and just take whatever, It
really makes you think of Rogue from X-Men, doesn't it? And it's funny because this kind of feels like a bit like an X-Men thing, isn't it? Wanda's turn to the Scarlet Witch is kind of like, the Dark Phoenix thing. In fact, that's one of the reviews I read where they said, you know what? This is Dark Phoenix done properly. And it's ironic because of, again, what happens later. But, I think if you want a horror film with an evil book, then hey, get the director of the best evil book films ever made, Sam Raimi. The problem is we don't really see much of the corruption of Wanda by the book. We are briefly told it corrupts, and then you're tainted and evil, and that doesn't seem quite fair. As Wanda says, we don't get enough.
There's There's no build up.
Struggle. It's just like boom.
It's kind of like a switch goes off screen. It all happens off screen, 100%. And you're just brought into it, and it's like, oh, okay, then she's bad now. Okay.
Yeah. If we'd seen our Wanda struggle more with corruption leading her...
It's even more like that if you haven't seen WandaVision. It's even more... If you didn't watch WandaVision, and you've gone from her... It's literally the last time we'd have seen her was Endgame, right? So at the end of Endgame...
Endgame,
at the end of Endgame, probably at the funeral, maybe. She was probably there. I can't remember.
Yeah, she was. She was chatting with Clint, wasn't she? Because they both lost people. Just shouting with
yeah, that's it. That was the last thing we'd have seen her. And then all of a sudden, she's off screen. That's happened, and you haven't seen this. She's become this big bad, and you're just like, what the fuck? How'd that happen? She's become, that was it's too much of a character turn very quickly.
Oh, so we agree on that, David. We agree on the central tenet is that her turn's not strong enough, and the reasoning's not good enough,
100%.
Based on what we did with that.
Yeah.
So next, I want to talk about our boy Sam. I mean, damn, he goes right out on the horror here, man. And although there are standard Marvel jokes, this is a much more darker and disturbing film with some truly horrific images. But I think first up, the big image that tells you in a Sam Raimi movie is the octopus getting this eye ripped out. Massive splooge. That was funny, man. You literally heard, when I watched that the first time in the audience, everyone was like, you literally heard the, And then, of course, Wanda's attack at Karmatage, man, when she's attacking people through reflections in the puddles, and then she come through the mirror like Sadako from the fucking Ring. I mean, oh man, that when she kind of like, it's all like weird motion, and that was cool, man. That is gonna give nightmares.
There were a lot of cool moments. If you were like one of these people that brought your children to watch this,
you've got years of therapy ahead.
A lot of late nights, a lot of nightmares at that. A lot of sleeping with your kid. The kid will want to sleep with you because he won't want to sleep on his own. And some of it was quite scary.
There was literally a great comment I read on Twitter where someone said, "Well, I enjoyed the film. I'm not too sure about my two 12-year-old daughters because I think they're going to be having nightmares for months now." So, right, Sam Raimi says, "Well, you're welcome." I mean, yeah, that mirror scene, man, when she, like the reflection scene when she was coming through puddles and just pulling people away. And if you notice, the camera angle shot to the her POV, so that was very similar to the Evil Dead POV of the evil when it's going through the woods. So yeah. You did notice all
there was a lot of
Raimi
stuff
touches.
In it, even just from the entire film felt like a culmination of his entire career.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
And that was great, man. And I'm glad because it took 500 million.
You knew you were watching a Raimi film a Raimi superhero film from just like really small things, like how the lighting was used in character, like just to the light a character, or how the first moment where I was just like, okay, fucking hell, yeah, this feels like it felt like slightly like Spider-Man 2. Because when America is hanging off of the building a little bit, and we're seeing the squid octopus person down below, and the building gives way a little bit, and that all fucking felt like, oh, that's straight out of Spider-Man. It felt like Aunt May hanging off the building. It was literally like to a point where it was it felt like a step back, back a few years, but not in a bad way. But
I don't, sir. I think if you're talking about superhero films that take a step back in a bad way, then Morbius says hello. I think Kevin Feige and Marvel are smart enough to know if you hire Sam Raimi and give him the budget, you know what you're going to get. And I think with Feige producing and working on it with him, he just harnessed the best of Raimi for this. I mean, you're never going to get an out-and-out Evil Dead style film these days. I mean, bar the new Evil Dead film coming out, but Raimi's only producing that, I believe. I think this is as close as you can get to an outright horror film for a PG-13, a 12A certificate film in the MCU. And we'll get on to some really horrific stuff very shortly, David. So after the outright slaughter at Karmatage, America and Steven escape to a new multiverse, one in which he died a hero after stopping Thanos. As they go there, they're like, oh, do you know what? We should go and see who this reality's Sorcerer Supreme is. And of course, it's Mordo, our additional villain from the first film, except here, they're still friends. Well, they are until he drugs both of them and puts them into a cell. And it's here that this film remembers, oh wait, we've got Rachel McAdams in the film. We better actually do something with her this time. And we get a multiverse version of Christine, who informs Strange in America that they are being quarantined as they are dangerous. And yes, her world's version of Stephen couldn't get his shit together with her either.
I kind of like that they were like star-crossed lovers across all universes, and in every single one of them,
it just didn't work.
It doesn't work, yeah.
He was just always a dick at that point in his life. And of course, David, this scene leads us to what many people were absolutely creaming themselves for from the trailer. The introduction of the Illuminati.
What a fucking stupid-ass name, by the way. I know you said that's in the comics, but that's a fucking dumb name for, the Avengers, essentially. The Avengers, fucking cool name. The Illuminati.
Illumifati, more like.
Anyway, continue.
So we get our live-action Captain Carter with Hayley Atwell reprising her role. And in this universe, she was the one who got the super serum. We get Anson Mount's Black Bolt. Now, David, do you remember Black Bolt? Because he was in the dreadful ABC Inhumans TV show that they tried doing in conjunction with Marvel.
I never watched Inhumans, but
you're aware it was a thing that existed.
Film.
Yeah, so he was in that. Yes, the Blackafar Boltagar. He Black Bolt, essentially. He was the king of the Inhumans. We get Lashana Lynch's Maria Rambeau as Captain Marvel, the already introduced Mordo as the Sorcerer Supreme, and then the big two, the long-awaited four, the long-wished-for fan casting of John Krasinski as Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four, which did get an audible gasp from the audience when I was there. Which is funny, because they had two big reveals, like everyone was like that, and they clearly forgot who was actually mentioned in the trailer briefly, and that is, David, only bloody Patrick Stewart's Professor X, linking the X-Men with the main MCU for the first time ever. But the general upshot is, this Illuminati are a little bit too cocky. You know, Captain Marvel, she's all like, "Oh, don't worry about your little witch."
Yeah, this entire thing didn't make any sense to me, and I'll explain. Like, they were the worst fucking superheroes.
They were some arrogant motherfuckers, right? Weren't they? They were like, "Oh yeah," and but their reasoning was that in their universe, Strange didn't actually die from Thanos. He died after, well, they killed him. He got he got infected by the Darkhold, and then the Illuminati decided to kill him themselves with Black Bolt unleashing his lovely singing voice on him.
He
killing
accidentally
their Strange.
Wiped out a multiverse, wasn't it?
And fair enough.
Like,
yeah.
You know what, dude? You don't know what you're fucking doing, man. You fucked this up. You killed a whole fucking multiverse.
Universe.
Yeah,
you need to die.
Yeah, die now.
So Hero? I mean, yes or no? I mean, he did use the Darkhold to defeat Thanos, did wipe out another universe by accident, but does knowing the cost actually make him a hero? Essentially, as he is then murdered by his own team and friends. So, David, your thoughts on the fan casting of Krasinski and the tease of the X-Men to the MCU at last?
Yeah, well, that stuff was amazing. So my big problem with this film, and one of my bigger negatives, is that there weren't any surprises, really. John Krasinski was leaked a year ago maybe.
I mean, he was essentially willed into existence, wasn't he, by the internet?
Yeah. So that wasn't really a big surprise. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's really cool. But it wasn't a surprise for me. They put fucking Charles Xavier in the trailer. So that wasn't a surprise. The only one that was a surprise is Black Bolt, who I'd never even heard of before, really.
Yeah.
So that was in a film where you could do so much with the multiverses and how many characters. A film that basically makes every film and everything canon. Literally everything's canon now. There isn't... Once you bring multiverses into it, everything can be canon. Right? Every film that's ever existed, everything is canon when you bring the idea of a multiverse into play. With that, there's so much that could have been done with bringing extra characters in or whatever, and it was very disappointing that was the big sort of surprise, which wasn't really a surprise.
So would you have been more surprised if we'd had Tom Cruise's rumoured alternate Iron Man?
That would have been cool. Yeah, that would have been cool. But again, it was rumoured still. Something that wasn't, like Black Bolt. No one, I didn't know he was going to be in it, but I didn't know who he was. If you'd have had Wolverine, if you'd have had Hugh Jackman turn up, that would have been cool because that wasn't seen or mentioned. Well, really.
Arguably, and we'll mention it later. There is a new credit introduced in the post-credits thing that definitely was kept under wraps and no one knew about. But of course, then everyone was like, Charlize Theron's turning up, and everyone was like, well, who's she? Which we'll get into at the end.
But sorry, to continue on, there's one thing I did really like about this multiverse that they went into was that it was like a utopia multiverse, but it was one where Ultron worked. Ultron existed and it was successful, and Reed Richards, the smartest man alive, made that happen. And I thought that was quite cool that they've made Reed Richards to be more intelligent than Bruce Banner and Stark before.
100% agree with you there, man. The film's perhaps defining scene is Wanda busting in to the Illuminati's headquarters and absolutely murdering all of them. Now, I can see why people say this film reminded them of the X-Force scene in Deadpool 2 or the opening of the Suicide Squad, as you intro a team of heroes only to have them die really horribly and quickly. I mean, in this scene, Wanda is almost like the fucking Terminator, slowly lurching through wave after wave.
If you think of this in terms of, like, universe, was it 616? Is that our universe? If you think of that in terms of universe 616's Avengers, It's literally like Wanda just turning up and being like, dead Avenger, Captain America, blow your head off.
Dead.
To Iron Man, I'm going to melt you in your suit.
Yeah.
You know, it's literally like she just went in and just killed every single one of our core superheroes for this universe. That's what she did.
So welcome to the Illuminati slaughter. I mean, it's funny because it was so bizarre that they were worried about our Stephen getting his hands on a Darkhold that much that they completely undervalued the threat that Wanda is. I mean, did Stephen not mention to them at any point, well, actually, she's got the Darkhold, which then makes her infinitely more dangerous than he would be. That might have made them take her a bit more seriously, but that was never even addressed, was it?
There was so many silly things, like Reed Richards being like, "Hey, this is Black Bolt. He can kill you instantly with his voice."
Mouth.
And then she's just like,
"What mouth?"
Okay.
Yeah. The smartest man alive literally just told Wanda what his power was, so she could sort out defense against it.
And then goes to physically attack her on his own and just gets blown up immediately.
Turned into silly putty by the looks of things.
Yeah, basically, he
got shredded, dude.
He went literally like he went through a shredder, which I was quite disappointed about because you never actually got to see his powers. You never got to see Elastic Man. You know? I mean,
but before she basically turned him into silly string, she came up with the best chilling scene, the best chilling line she had in the film when he's trying to reason with her, and she's like, "Look," she says, "Look, I'm a father too," and she goes, "Is their mother still alive?" "Well, yes." "Good. Then there'll be someone left to raise them."
Yeah,
that was the line. Everyone was like looking at each other and someone going, "Oh, she's so badass in that scene."
That was badass, that scene, yeah.
And then she turns him into silly string. I mean, and there's one weird thing that people have said. They said, "Well, look, just because he played that version of him, it's not a guarantee that Krasinski will be playing the regular version, the Earth 313 version, 616 version of Reed Richards when he eventually comes in." But I mean, it'd be silly to introduce him there and then not have another actor playing.
Comes in, yeah. But this,
yeah.
How they've played the multiverse in this as well confused me. Sorry, just going back a bit. Because I thought they'd play off Spider-Man's multiverse opening up and then everything coming through. But it wasn't. They'd introduced a whole other concept of how the multiverse can be brought into the show by having somebody have multiversal powers. Instead of just playing off what continuing down the road of multiverse that had already been treaded.
Well, what happens there, well, the reason for that is the Spider-Man's multiverse thing is pretty much Sony/Marvel, isn't it? Right? So doing this separates them out now. So anything multiversal in a Marvel film is Marvel outright. And then anything Sony Marvel is done through Spider-Man's one. And they can cross them over again, if we have another Avengers film
but like I said, if you bring the idea of multiverses into play, everything's canon.
But it's a corporate thing. They've split it on purpose. So anything to do with multiverses now will go through America's character going forward, and Spider-Man will just be forgotten about until they decide to bring him back into whatever the next big thing is. Yeah, next up, you've got Captain Carter. You have Captains Carter and Marvel teaming up, and you got a few well-placed smoke bombs, and then Hayley Atwell gets to say the iconic line, "I can do this all day." And it's quickly proved she can't do this all day because Wanda throws a shield back her and she gets cut in half. I mean, that was like, she's definitely been cut in half, even though you just see her body fall one way from the top angle. He's like, she's definitely been chopped in half by her own shield. And then, bearing in mind how powerful our Captain Marvel is, I thought the way that Monica's demise was actually a bit shit. Okay, Wanda pulled a big statue on her. Really? That's enough to kill this universe's Captain Marvel? I mean, that was pretty shit.
Because she is fucking badass, isn't she? And
do you know what? I don't think
she literally fucking destroyed a massive spaceship in Endgame.
Yeah,
she took out the whole.
Our Captain Marvel did, Brie Larson, not Lashana Lynch's.
It would be the same, surely. Unless they, I don't know.
What I think the problem with it is, remember when I saw Lashana Lynch in Bond? She gave exactly the same performance of the cocky action persona that she did in Bond, and she did here with Captain Marvel. I was like, you have no range. You're literally just playing the same thing. We'll take care of your little witch. I was like, oh, you won't. You got crushed by a statue. That's really crap. That's literally the crappiest way to die. I mean, Black Bolt easily got the best death, man.
I don't know. I can think of some more ways to die. Like pooping on the toilet. That'd be a bad way to die.
Sopranos. Happened in Sopranos, man. Elvis, probably.
Game of Thrones, yeah.
He didn't he got shot on the toilet while he was pooping.
He was pooping.
He didn't die from pooping. Yeah, but he died from the crossbow in his guts, not the poop. I think probably the best jump scare in the film, though, is when Wanda finally clashes with Professor X. Now, he gets into her head, and he's trying to free this universe's version of Wanda, the one that's being possessed by our Scarlet Witch. However, then, full-on witch-looking Wanda appears behind him and just snaps his neck. I mean, what was your favourite Illuminati death, David, of the 5, which was the best?
My favourite was probably Black Bolt's blowing his own brain out with his yeah. That was something out of The Boys.
Yeah, that was just like, I could not believe we was getting that in an MCU film, man.
Yeah, that was probably my favourite one.
That was
Carter's
the funniest
cool
one
as well. My least favourite one was
Captain
Marvel. Probably Reed Richards, actually.
He got turned into silly putty.
Yeah,
silly string.
but it happened so quickly. I'd rather it have been in that fight a little bit longer.
Well, I think that's just because we would rather see more of Mr. Fantastic. Now, as entertaining as the scene was in the cinema for the first and second times, I have a massive issue with it, David, and it's not something we've addressed yet. The reason I don't like this scene, one of the reasons I don't like this scene is none of it matters. You've said about the multiverse being canon, right?
Yeah.
And everything's canon now. I disagree, because the same issue I have with this film and this scene is what I had with X-Men's Days of Future Past. Do you remember that film?
Yeah.
Right, so they started killing off all the different X-Men in a different reality. And you're like, oh no, they're dead, they're dead. The thing is, these deaths didn't mean anything to us on a deeper level.
Because it's not ours.
Because they are
not the
exactly. They are not the versions of the characters we know. In our Earth 616 continuity, Captain Carter has died of old age. Mordo is off being evil somewhere and been completely forgotten about for this film. We haven't met our universe's Fantastic Four or X-Men yet. And in our 616 continuity, Maria Rambeau is also dead. So none of this... Oh, and Black Bolt probably would have preferred to actually still be dead rather than have his terrible ABC show than his screen time in Multiverse of Madness. So none of this matters. And what does it... What it does do, it makes Wanda into a spectacularly brutal, out-and-out villain, slaughtering these characters for shock value. But it rings hollow for me, because we know we're going to see these characters again. Or some of these characters again, at least. I don't think we'll see...
Hopefully, in another universe, yeah.
I don't think we're going to see Patrick Stewart's Professor X again. I think when we do see the new Professor X, it'll be recast.
Or it'll be Thingy. It'll be, McAvoy.
Or they could just do it fresh and do a brand new one.
And if they could, you get McAvoy doing it.
With Anson Mount's Black Bolt, well, Anson Mount's off being Captain Pike on Star Trek Strange New Worlds, so I don't think we're going to see him back anytime soon. And it's a shame, because Black Bolt, he was better in that one scene than he was in the whole Inhumans TV show. And it's just a shame that you didn't have Feige actually behind that show, or have it as a Disney Plus show. And here's another little wrinkle I thought of, right? So far, all the multiversal versions of the characters we've seen, they look exactly the same as their Earth 616 counterparts. So it does make casting a new actor a slight problem. I mean, like I said, I think a few of us were slightly disappointed that we didn't get our Tom Cruise as a variant of Tony Stark. But if he's supposed to be Iron Man and doesn't look anything like him, how is he the same character? You know, would he be a different character who was Iron Man? Or is he actually Tony Stark, but he looks completely different?
No, they don't have to look
They have to look exactly the same.
No, they don't. The Thingy looks nothing like...
But Captain Marvel is the person who gets the powers, whereas it's a different character became Captain Marvel in this multiverse, right? It was her friend became Captain Marvel, not Brie Larson's character. What I'm saying is, if you suddenly have Tom Cruise as Tony Stark, it doesn't make any sense, because even if it was a multiversal version of Tony Stark, he would still be Robert Downey Jr. And everyone, see what I mean? Yeah. So, and their whole idea was, oh, well, multiverses just lets us recast different actors. But they didn't do that in this one. They kept everyone looking exactly as they did. Even, what they did is they changed characters who power sets, didn't they? So, you know, we already knew Hayley Atwell was Agent Carter, but in this she became Captain Carter, sorry.
Yeah.
So they've kind of changed it in that way, but they haven't actually changed any of the actors playing the roles. So they are still the same actors and characters. They've just took on different superhero personas that other people had in their universe. So I found that quite interesting, David. After the decimation of the Illuminati, Wanda, and this bit I didn't think was very good, when she's chasing them
Well,
through the
sort of
tunnels.
zombie walk through the
zombie
tunnel.
walk through the. I was like, wait a minute. She could literally travel through realities, and
I thought
door is stopping
I was
her.
literally like, I thought this when I looked at Natasha and was like, has she forgotten she can fly?
Has she flown?
She
She
could
could just
literally
teleport and.
she could literally just go like, yep, I'm next to you now. Why are we getting this like little like? And she was blasting through doors leading up to that fucking door, and then just stopped just so we could have that jump scare.
I know. I thought the same thing, man. I was just like,
And why did they stop waiting for her to turn up? Fucking get moving, people! What are you doing?
I think they were inferring that she'd been, really damaged by the fight, but they didn't infer enough of it. They didn't show. There could have been a bit in one of the fights where you heard a bone snap or something, or saw a leg get broken or something, and you could see her struggle to right it. Then you would know, okay, she's taking some damage in this fight. She's not 100%. That would have perhaps worked a bit more for it. After this really crap zombie chase scene, they escape. They go off to get the good book, not the Bible, a book of good, which is essentially the antithesis of the Darkhold. But of course, they fuck it up, and Wanda zaps it. And Wanda finally gets to kidnap America, and Christine and Stephen get chucked off into yet another decaying multiverse. And this time they need to find another Strange to help and get them back to stop Wanda. Thankfully, Wong is still alive. Earlier in the film, when Wanda discovered her Mount Wondagore ritual cave thing with rock monsters, I don't know. There was a little fight and Wong got chucked off the cliff. But good old Wong, he's just been having a nap and now he's waking up again. Now, I do have another issue here, which is timing, as it's never explained how long it takes for Wanda to take America's power. I mean, right, she's supposed to be so all-powerful, it shouldn't take her that long at all, but we kept getting delays.
I still don't understand how she can. Like, if she can, why didn't she just fucking do it with everyone? Why didn't she just get Thanos and be like, yep, see you, cheers, man, or whatever, literally anything, if there's the possibility to do that. And the same, and you know what? The same with when she made Black Bolt not be able to speak. If she's got that power, why don't she just close everyone's orifices? I think that's the word. Why don't she just make everybody suffocate because just stop them from being able to breathe, or make everybody blind and deaf? That'd be pretty shit fucking superheroes then, wouldn't they? If she could do it that quickly, why don't she just suffocate everybody if they're getting in her way?
Or make them poop themselves to death and explode on the inside by closing all their orifices.
There's so many possibilities for her there.
It does seem like Stephen and Christine spend a hell of a lot of time, going after the other Strange, when literally, I mean, what she's doing, she's like just walking around in a cave the whole time, because she started sucking her power right before they got knocked into the other portal. And yet, so why couldn't she just continue doing it there? No, she chucked her through into, that's it, because that Wanda chucked her through into our Wanda's reality up in Mount Wondagore, didn't she? But, I mean, I thought they telegraphed the next scene a little bit as well. So, when they're looking for the other Doctor Strange, I mean, you take one look at this third Doctor Strange, and it's clear he's a bad un before we even realise that he's got this universe's Darkhold. However, I did quite enjoy the inventive and surprisingly musical fight between the two of them. Didn't you think that was quite good? I like the musical notes hitting.
No, I did not, Neil.
No?
I thought that was fucking one of the dumbest things in it. Musical fights. Oh. Why? What was the point of it?
Well, you liked Hamilton, didn't you?
Okay, yeah, I like Hamilton because Hamilton is a musical.
Okay.
Why were they fighting with musical notes all of a sudden?
Because there was musical instruments in the room.
I know. I thought it was dumb.
I thought it was cool. I thought it was inventive.
No, I didn't. I thought it was somebody which was like, oh, this will look really cool, writing it down, and then in reality it looked pretty shit.
Well, anyway, it didn't matter because that universe's Strange got blown through a window and onto some railing spikes. Another quite gory graphic death for a 12A. And now this is where the film goes full Evil Dead in a 12A kind of way, where Stephen goes through the overly complicated plan of dreamwalking his alternate reality corpse that he buried on his rooftop at the start of the film and taking it to fight Wanda while he is trapped in another reality thanks to the Darkhold. And that is a sentence that has so much in it, David, right there. But we get that classic Evil Dead hand breaking through the grave shot as Zombie Strave makes his way out to Wondagore.
I like that. That was nice.
That was cool, man. And however, because piloting your own corpse is pretty much frowned upon, the spirits of the damned begin to attack Zombie Strange and somehow get through to our Stranger's reality, where Christine has to go full Ghostbusters on him to protect Stephen's body while he dreamwalks. The scene where the spirits are attacking Zombie Strange is exactly like how the possessed Deadites in the Evil Dead film taunt Ash throughout those films with the flying and the
Turning them into wings
voices.
was a bit funny as well. Just all of a sudden be like, you know what, I can control you now, and you will become my flight.
It was a little bit like Swiss Army Man with Daniel Radcliffe's corpse. Little bit.
Yes.
But so eventually, Zombie Steven convinces America that, hey, you can control your power. And then she just takes, and she actually kind of saves the day. She takes our Wanda to the reality where she was headed to and shows her how fucking terrified she has become.
Yeah, he does all of that. So Doctor Strange does all of that. He reanimates his corpse. He does everything to give her a pep talk.
To give her a pep talk.
Like,
when he could have been,
you can do it. You're brave. You're a strong and confident woman who can do this. You got this. You can control it. You've been doing it this entire time. You just don't even realize.
Or he could have just got Rob Schneider in to go, you can do it.
Yeah, that's all we needed.
And of course, her kids see her come through, and she's like, run away from the witch. Oh, she's a witch. I think the kid even says, the witch. Now, I'm sorry, but at this point, man, I hate Wanda's children. I hate them. They weren't good in WandaVision. I
like the one with the longer hair. The shorter hair one annoys me for some reason.
I'm sorry, that bit about being tucked in earlier in the film made me want to vomit.
I liked the longer haired one being like, okay, you can tuck me in now, mommy. But for some reason, the shorter haired one. I don't know why.
I hated him. I hated them both. I would have vomited out of all orifices, man, if I had to watch a film with them in it. I forgot how bad they were in Wonder. Well, I don't think they were as bad in WandaVision. I think that kind of cheesy sitcom tone, it worked for them in that show. Here, in a full-out horror film, I was like, no, I would literally drown you both. I hate them. They were so horrible, David. I hate them.
You would drown children. Okay. I just wanted to make sure everybody heard that.
Just these children in this particular film. But anyway, finally, Wanda realizes that, oh wait, I have become the villain. Just like at the end of WandaVision. Did she learn nothing from the previous show? And she decides to destroy all the Darkholds in all universes.
Yeah, that's another thing. How did she manage to do that?
I'm not sure. I mean, as we've established in this film, David, we don't know what her powers are. She can just seemingly do anything at this point.
Well, if there's a plot hole or something that needs to do to get the plot to work, Wanda can do it.
She's just a witch. I mean, she is overpowered AF in this film, as the kids say. And I say seemingly kills herself because there is a quick flash of light somewhere within the mountain right before she supposedly dies. So I'm not sure we have seen the end of our Wanda quite yet.
I read that flash of light as the sort of Wanda's powers just being like, poof, like her
snuffed
death.
out.
That was her death. Yeah.
That could be read. I read it that way, to be fair, as well. I mean, if you did try and bring her back again, how many more times could she be redeemed? She can't be redeemed for killing everyone at Karmatage, man. You know, no way. That definitely gets.
Yeah, another thing. Wong is the worst Sorcerer Supreme ever. The previous Sorcerer Supreme wouldn't, from the first Doctor Strange, she would have just let those guys die. Those 5 people. She was like, I'm going to kill these 5 people unless you take me to where it is. And he's just like, shit, okay, I'll do it. Like, come on, bro. Come on, we're talking about the end of all multiverses, and he's just like, oh shit, don't kill these 5 people.
Well, mate, Tilda Swinton is hardcore, that's what we're saying. And the film ends with America training with Wong at Karmatage, and she's a bit shit with a sling ring. She's like, hey, I can open multiverses, but I can't use this stupid little ring thing. And we see a happier Stephen walking down the street when suddenly a loud ringing drops him to his knees, and a third eye opens on his head. And that's your film, folks.
Cut to black. Crash to black there as well.
Crash to black.
Fucking awesome ending, really. If you think like crash to black. Oh shit, what's he going to be? Is he going to be corrupted by the Darkhold? What's happened to him? Who knows?
Well, now, the third eye appeared on the last Evil Strange she fought because he was using the Darkhold.
So we're insinuating that he's being corrupted by the Darkhold and that he's going to be turning into like Evil Strange. That's what that suggested at the end.
I think Raimi wanted to just do a shock ending because he does those a lot in his film.
But that's what that suggested, right? But then the credit scene after that completely negated that awesome crash to black ending by having him showed walking down the street again and then his eye turning up and being like, okay, let's get going, like he's completely normal.
We didn't need him walking down the street in both at the end of the film and in that scene again.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to the post-credits bit in a sec. But, I mean, Wong did ask him, have you got any side effects? And he's like, oh, no, I'm fine. And he's clearly lying. But from comic book lore, the third eye actually comes from the eye of Agamotto that he wears around his neck. So honestly, it being connected with the Darkhold isn't actually a thing. So it's something in comic lore. So it's something they've thought up in this film. But I also think that Raimi always likes to end his films on a quick shock jump note. He does it in almost every one. And like you say, though, it does potentially set up another issue for Stephen down the line. But, as we all know, this is a Marvel film, and goddammit, you are going to have 2 post-credit scenes. Usually one will move on the story massively, or intro a major new character, and one is usually a one-joke note, and one of them is usually a one-note joke throwaway scene. Well, this has both. Firstly, Stephen is happily walking down the street yet again, which we just saw him do in the very last scene, when only bloody Charlize Theron walks through a portal and into the MCU, because she's clearly not in enough major franchises now. She tells him there's been an incursion and they need to fix it, unless he's afraid. Stephen gives her the old wink with his third eye and says, not in the least, to this mysterious woman, and they portal the hell out of here like an episode of Rick and Morty. Well, who is Charlize Theron playing, David? Did you know before you saw this? Do you even know?
Clara, isn't it? Isn't she playing
Clea.
just another Clea? Yeah, isn't she playing just another version of Doctor Strange, basically?
No, completely. No, you're wrong.
Oh, okay.
She is Clea, and she is a sorceress from the Dark Dimension where the finale of the first film took place. And in fact, she is the niece of Dormammu, which is nice. I'm not quite sure how you become a human woman from being the niece of a cosmic entity. And over the course of the comics lore, she becomes Stephen's great love, his wife, and eventually takes over from him as the Sorcerer Supreme in that comic continuity. So, we have our major new character for Doctor Strange 3. And with the final scene, I knew exactly what was coming earlier. Because earlier in the film, we had our token Bruce Campbell cameo as a pizza ball vendor in one of the alternate realities, who Stephen curses to repeatedly punch himself in the face, saying, he'll wear off in a few weeks. And it is not a Sam Raimi film unless he is punishing Bruce Campbell somehow. And here we check back in with Campbell's street vendor as the spell is finally wearing off before he tells us it's over. And yes, this scene was met with groans at my screening. People like, what? We waited for that. I mean, they weren't as angry as Harry Styles at the end of Eternals, but people were annoyed about. I mean, I don't get it.
I'm glad I didn't wait for this, so I didn't see.
Did you not?
I saw the first one. No, and then I left because I was quite hungry and I needed a wee. So I just didn't bother waiting for the last pun, and then I just Googled what happened, and I was like, thank fuck I didn't wait for that.
Yeah. The second time I saw this in the cinema, I didn't wait for that. I watched the. It's funny, like it's such a Hollywood backlot film, backlot shot with the cameo with Charlize Theron. I mean, that could have been filmed like a week before the film was released, couldn't it?
Mm. Yeah.
But I think we're almost to the end, David. But there is one thing I need to address about the film, and that is the distinct lack of vision in the film. The actual character, not like Raimi's directorial vision.
Yeah,
bearing
so
in mind,
alive again at the end of it.
Let me get through this. Let me get through this. So, bearing in mind how important he was to Wanda's arc in the films and WandaVision, for him to only get briefly referenced and name-checked once felt massively overwhelming. If she could go to any universe for her kids, why not find one where her kids and the love of her life are still alive? Well, Olsen said in an interview with Collider recently, there's a whole list of things like my brother, my parents. I think the main reason we would talk about it if there is a multiverse, and in this version of the multiverse, the woman wasn't with Vision. We liked having that be a mystery. For some reason, he's not in her world. I always thought of her more as a domestic Wanda. They got divorced, they're separated, she's not wearing a wedding band for some reason. Like those kind of things. We like the idea of her being on her own. The idea really is that the most important thing once you become a mother in the world are your children, and that's why. Well, David, do you know what I say to that? Bullshit! I'm sorry, that just sounds like they couldn't get Bettany to come back. Don't you think?
It does sound like an excuse to be like, oh shit, we didn't think of this. What are we going to think of? What are we going to think of? What are we going to think of?
And at the end of WandaVision, what makes it even more bullshit is, when White Vision turned up, right, who was recreated from stuff, I forget now.
His corpse.
But he that's it. He starts off as outright villain, doesn't he? But then he gets our Vision's memories and declares himself the real Vision and is like, yeah, I need to think about this, and then flies off never to be seen again. And I think the lack of Vision being in it really hurt us buying Wanda's turn to the dark side. I was still, even at the end of the film, expecting alternate Vision to turn up to help stop her. And it would have been nice if he was the one who turned up and had to kill her, and she was like, "Yes, just kill me, end it."
Yeah, but again, that would have been a massive. You'd have had to have watched WandaVision for that, for that to have worked. Because can you imagine seeing that if you hadn't watched WandaVision and being like, "What the fuck?" Yeah.
A white Paul Bettany robot turns up and is like, "And laser eyes."
It wouldn't. Yeah, that wouldn't have gone down very well.
Well, they would have had to introduce him more than that, and then that wouldn't have worked because you wouldn't have had the surprise of him turning up. So, but I was still expecting Alternate Vision to turn up, or at least be referenced man more. So it does sound like there was some like Bettany's like, "No, I'm not coming back for that," or whatever idea. They either forgot, which I don't think they would, or they had an idea and it just wasn't good enough to make him come back.
Maybe they run out of budget. Like Krasinski, he cost too much. They couldn't afford.
I don't think he cost for that. He's probably like on a trial deal, man. He's like, well, look, he's buy one, get one free. So, like, I have to bring my wife along for the next one. And they're like, yes, even though she's absolutely slagged us off in interviews for years saying she'll never do a Marvel film. But you will, Emily Blunt. We'll see you there. We see you there.
Paycheck comes along.
We see you there, Invisible Girl. Get it? So, David, I think we're done. How many Necromonicons out of a Darkhold would you give this?
Well, I was flittering between 6 and 7. And you know what? I think I'm further towards a 6. Than the 7, so I'm going to give it a 6.
I am going to give this an 8.
Yeah, you liked it a lot more than I did then.
Yeah, I've seen it twice, and I think like I said, my main issue with it is Wanda's turn. I don't think it feels earned after...
The sheer amount of plot issues that were within it, and the lack of surprise, and the fact that you could do anything within the multiverse concept, I think it was it was just a massive disappointment.
Well, and here's the funny thing, what you say about the multiverse concept, when you finally get round to seeing everything everywhere all at once, that's how you use a multiverse idea. Yeah. That's how you do different realities at the same time. So, David, I think that wraps us up for today. I'm going to portal off to my back garden and I'm going to get myself a drink and have a barbecue.
I've literally only just woken up. I'm going to have breakfast, probably.
Right, I think you can... I don't know. Are you going to have some octopus eye?
No. That was a bad... No. Come on. You can do better than that. You can think of something better than that.
Well, you can't. Ooh, sick burn. Go out and go get some sunscreen for that sick burn. Right, we'll see you next time, guys.
Bye-bye.
We needed roads.